all be quiet. That would be very helpful, thank you. So the way this is going to work is we're going to start by giving the candidates opening statements, which will be about 2 minutes in length. We'll then move to a few general questions, which will move to specific questions. We'll then vary between general and specific questions across the rest of the run before giving candidates a chance of concluding statements. Everything will be quite brief. It's sort of 1 minute to 2 minute speeches on everything. If you guys like clap and yell, particularly long periods in between, we're going to have to cut the amount of questions, we're going to have to cut the amount of work we could do. So while it's obviously you guys want to support people you're here to support, except for the 7 of you who are actually not decided who you're voting for. But apart from that, please just keep your general cheering and antics to short periods of time. Enthusiastically short is what I will be going for.
Alright, thanks for that, Kirkby. So my name is Katie Morrison, I'm the President of the Debating Union. It is my pleasure to be moderating the UWA Guild debate for 2015. We have 4 wonderful candidates here today from the birthday party, launch, star and left action. Unfortunately, left action cannot stay for the entirety of the debate. However, they very kindly made the time for an opening statement for the debate. So without further ado, I invite Emma Norton to provide a 2-minute opening statement on behalf of left action. Please make her welcome.
Hi everyone. Probably you already all know me, but I'm not here for the whole debate because there's actually a protest happening right now against the cuts to arts majors. I found over the course of this campaign week, I've been really sickened actually by the cynicism coming out of the leading candidates in particular in Star and Launch, whatever, the Liberals. I think it's really disgusting the way that these people who have been in the Guild, for Star, have been in the Guild for nigh on 15 years or more now, who have never once stood up for students' rights, who have been our constant enemy in trying to get anything to be done to stand up for students' rights, to get protests to happen on campus, to even get the Guild to put some money into the damn campaign against feeding regulation has been a constant uphill battle. And yet obviously things have shifted a little bit in the last few years. Left action has gotten bigger, and some of our arguments I think have made an impact in the last election in particular. Students now hate the Abbott government and hate Liberals in general, which is I think the Turnbull government now, which I think is responsible for this hilarious rebranding that's gone on this year. And I think as well students are pissed off about the quality of education on campus that the Guild, run by Star, has allowed to get to the point where there are overcrowded tutorials, where there is massive casualisation of staff, where mass sackings can go on in the library and not a peep comes out of the Guild, where there have been decimations of courses over the last few years that the Guild has not even informed students about, let alone gotten them involved in any activity that could actually put pressure on the university to stop these attacks. And then sickeningly, when Left Action has been fighting an uphill battle over the last few months to get protests against the recent cuts to arts majors to happen, which the Guild has done absolutely nothing to support, have refused to even put on their, what does that mean? Their
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Refused to put on their, even advertise to students, and actually members of Star told students not to attend this protest, now are cynically claiming that it's their protest and cynically claiming that, they care about education. I think no one, and particularly the new people who've never run an election before, none of you should believe this.
Thanks Emma for taking some time to come along to today. We really appreciate your presence and the presence of Left Action. Alright, now moving on to the other candidates. I'd now like to invite Kallen from the birthday party to make his opening statement.
Selamat petang. Good afternoon. Aloha. Friends, comrades, loyal subjects. My name is Kallen White, and I am your birthday party candidate for Guild President. I would like to firstly acknowledge the minor parties who, despite not being granted the privilege to speak into this microphone, have a legitimate voice that must be listened to. I especially would like to acknowledge the independent candidate for Ordinary Guild Councillor, Sahil Pana, and the United together with the birthday party, providing an alternative voice for you, the people. Also, this is UWA Pride Week, and I wish aloha to those who are still finding their voice. We minorities must unite together to get our voice heard. Walking on the ground, speaking to ordinary students, people who might not necessarily care who in hell is Abbott, Turnbull, or what's his name? Dean Kallen. We actually found out what students actually want. And they want, as a first priority for the birthday party, sleeping pod in Read and Science Library for the 2016 semester 1 exam period. Yeah. Easy, you and Kirby already have that. Why not us? People are not engaged. People want what they want. And a $5 gift voucher whenever they have the chance to go. Yes. Whenever they have taken the time to actually think. We need emu export on Tavern.
Thanks, Kallen. Always a pleasure. I now invite Rhys Tucker to say a
Alright, so that's going to be extremely hard to follow, but I'll give it my best. I'd like to thank everyone for coming down here today and being a part of this debate. And in particular, I'd like to thank each and every launch candidate and supporter who's here today. It really means a lot to me. When I walk into the Guild Village every morning at 7 a.m. and I see a sea of red, nothing makes me prouder than that. Nothing makes me prouder than to run at the head of a ticket of such talented and motivated students. And that's what Launch is. We're new. We're diverse. We come from every faculty and every walk of student life. Each bringing with us unique skills and aspirations, but whatever our differences, we're all united by one shared desire: to see our guild transformed in 2016. More than anything else, I want to see a student guild that pours all its time, energy and resources into securing genuine improvements for its members. This past year, I've been lucky enough to serve alongside fantastic executive members as the Guild President. I'm running one of the largest faculty societies on campus, with a budget that stretches into the hundreds of thousands and a membership base to boot. I have learned so much. More than anything, I know that clubs live or die based on how well they deliver for their members. It is that simple. Our student guild should be no different. And in 2016, a launch guild will set that standard. But delivering this guild will take time and it will take policies. Here, Launch is the team that's best equipped to deliver. Over the past few months, we've constructed a comprehensive policy platform, one that touches on every aspect of student experience. We have big goals, but Launch is the team best positioned to see them achieved. So listen to the debate, listen to my policies over the course of this debate, because we have the platform and the team to deliver real change this year. This September, take on the
And now to the opening statements, I invite Maddi Mullholland to start.
First lucky to have been able to access tertiary education and get involved in clubs and volunteering. And when I struggled to make ends meet or needed academic support, the Guild was there. And this year, the Star Guild stood up and said, "We won't let you finish your university with triple the debt." We fought fee regulation twice, and when the government brings it back around for the third time, only Star will stop it again. When Star promises something, we deliver. We delivered huge educational reform. We've implemented a longer-term plan for catering, and we stopped beyond Longbourn, compromising our university's integrity. To deliver real change for students, your Guild President needs to understand the Guild and the university. And the university executive knows me. They respect me, and you will see results by electing me as your 2016 Guild President. Now, I first got involved in Guild to help clubs. I was president of the largest club, and as 2014 SOC president, I consulted all clubs on what they needed. And we worked together to develop a plan for a new world-class club space to rival that of Harvard and Stanford. Star knows clubs, and the incredible quality of University's campus culture is a testament to that. This year, I'm supported by the strongest office bearer team that Star has ever seen. And we are also incredibly proud to be supporting ISL. Star knows its priorities: education, representation, engaging with campus culture, and student support. We aren't about empty promises. We're about changing students' lives. And when the Star team promises to do something, we will deliver.
The question will be answered as follows. Firstly, by launch. Secondly, by the birthday party. And thirdly, by Star.
This is a very important question because a lot of people that have decided to run with Launch this year are people who have never been engaged with Guild politics in the past. And I'm so proud to see that so many people have been inspired by the Launch message. But still, there is a lack of people who are willing to get engaged in Guild politics. That's a fact. So when people ask me about the kind of Guild that I want to lead, my answer is always the same. I want to lead the kind of Guild that is responsive to every single student and acts on the wants of the students. This can be done by two ways. Number one, we need to make all relevant information about the Guild open to all students. Students need to be aware of what goes on behind closed doors. That's why I will fight to have Guild minutes published on time every single month. The Guild sessions that give students the opportunity to listen to their student leaders. Secondly, we need to give students a more active voice in shaping the policy of the Guild. That's why I will pioneer the Student Innovation Committee. The Student Innovation Committee will be an independent organisation that gathers together students from all different walks of life in shaping the future of the Guild. That is what I will do to increase engagement in the Guild. Thank you.
World's level claps, I'd say.
I feel like this question has been addressed to me because, for goodness sake, you need more parties. You need more alternative voices. We must unite as minorities to express our voice out loud! We need to increase voter turnout, and I tell you how. By giving people an incentive to vote. This is why, as part of the Birmingham Party policy, we shall be giving people a free slice of cake. Or, if you happen to be the kind of person who hates cake, you can always have a $5 guild voucher. Either way, everyone wins, because we need more people to get engaged, and this is one way of how. We also need to encourage more minor parties in our Guild Council. That is why one of the electoral reforms I am proposing is to replace elections with a lottery among applicants. To remove excessive politicking of our guild. Nobody cares about liberal, label, whatever nonsense is going on. People just want someone to listen to them. People want someone to listen to them. In our guild by faculty, so that every single faculty has at least one person who listens to them. Whether you are a medical student, whether you are a commerce student, whether or not you happen to be the ordinary Joe, that I don't even know which faculty you are in, you must have your voice heard. Thank you.
After opposing privatised catering for over a decade, you reversed your course in early 2013 and supported Subway coming on campus. Some students who had just started as freshers when that decision was made are now in their final semester at undergraduate university. Many campuses around the country have been much quicker to finalise their negotiations with Subway in the past. Why can't students who started a degree when you made that promise get a meatball sub?
Yeah, this is a question I get asked a lot. So in a minute, two minutes, minute and a half. Okay. All right. So I started at UWA in 2010. Back then there was only guild catering, and it was pretty much all just curries. There was really not a lot of options, and Star did used to run on a guild-only platform. Liberty in 2012 won on a fully privatised platform. Then Star won in 2013, saying, we actually just want to find out what students want and what's going to work best for our campus. So we brought in an independent catering reviewer from the Tertiary Access Group. And he said, with our demographic and our student body, the model that's going to work for us is a mixed model. And we developed a long-term catering plan that saw us introduce fantastic food vans that change up all the time, saw us introduce independent outlets like Subway and Boost, why has the Windboost taken a while? Well, UWA is a very, bureaucratic place. Had to go through about 6 committees to even just get the change to the outside of the ref approved. But what I can say is that Star promised that, and you can see Star's now delivered.
Launch is a new ticket, and that's both an advantage and a disadvantage. We're a new ticket of fresh people, a lot of whom haven't even run in guild elections before. But that doesn't necessarily mean they don't have experience. Personally, I've been lucky enough to be Ecom's president this year. I've run a club with a budget that goes into the hundreds of thousands, run the most successful ball in the Southern Hemisphere, and stood up for commerce students where and when I can. But what really, I think, gives me the experience, or gives me the credentials to run the Guild in 2016, is the team that I've surrounded myself with this year. The fantastic Education Council presidential candidate, Jodie Kallen. Chair of UA, Chair of Guild Volunteering. I can't think of anyone more qualified for the position. Taryn Lindsay for PAC President. One of the fastest growing public affairs clubs. Claudia Koo, Society's Council President, VP of Asia, one of the largest and most successful cultural clubs. All of these people, the rest of my team, too numerous to name, all of these people contribute. They all bring a different level of experience to make sure that I can run the Guild, that we can run the Guild in 2016. Thank you very much.
This is a general question. It will be answered first by Star, then by launch, then by the birthday party. As representatives of all students, what is your plan to address the current cuts to postgraduate student scholarship and the continuous decline in resource availability for postgrad students? I didn't like it.
So I think it will have been impossible for you to escape the fact that I currently sit on the University Senate. And postgraduate cuts has been a big issue that we have been discussing. Now, the cuts to postgraduate scholarships really affect postgraduate students. That can be the difference between them paying their rent, because some of them do have to cover their own course costs. Cutting those fees is unfair. It's also not really in the university's best interest, because we're a university that's based on our international rating, which is largely driven by research, and it's also not a good way to move academia forward. What are we going to do next year? Well, we're going to continue to fight it. We're going to continue to empower the Postgraduate Student Association who are the ones who are leading the charge, to make sure that postgraduate student voices are heard. Now, I'm an undergraduate student, so I can't pretend that I know exactly what postgraduate students go through, or exactly the best way to go about it. I think the best thing to do is to consult with postgraduate students, to consult with PSA, and continue to empower them so that they can make the changes that need to happen. Thanks.
So, back when I was speaking to a lot of people in the lead up to this campaign, I spoke to one person in particular. His name is Peter Derbyshire. He's a good friend of mine. And he is the person who is spearheading the Cuts to Postgraduate Courses campaign at UWA. He said to me that he has received very little support from the Guild in his campaign. And then they had the audacity to go and ask him to support their major cuts campaign. Now, I don't think that this is necessarily the symbiotic relationship that should occur between postgraduates and the Guild.
Yeah.
The PSA is consistently underfunded, so if we want a successful campaign, we need to give the PSA more money because they do so much work for so many students. Secondly, we need to fight in the places where it really matters. We need to fight on the Senate, on academic boards, and in every single faculty to make sure that postgraduate students have the same voice as every other student.
Yeah.
That is what I will do until the president next year. And that is how I will represent postgraduate students. Thank you.
I would just like to say that I have absolutely no position or policy in this issue. I will say that that is one promise I am 100% sure I cannot break. Seriously, this is why you should vote for me on this kind of issue, because as a blank slate, I would go towards this kind of issue with an open mind, uncolored, with no vested interest, and I will tell you that the results of any negotiations is over this issue would be the most grounded, neutral response that will be for the betterment of everyone, not for whoever their vested interest is. Thank you.
Alright, on to our next general question, which we answered firstly by the birthday party, secondly by Star, and thirdly by Lodge. Current perception is that campus culture has been declining over the past few years. Do you agree, and how will you address this?
How damn shocking, isn't it? How dare, over all these years, our campus culture has slowly eroded like the three pinnacles. No. The 12 disciples. There is two things that the birthday party would do that would bring a revival, a renaissance of campus culture. For one thing, we'll give free cake to everyone on their birthday. We will have a special birthday event for all those whose birthdays don't occur during the semester. We will have e-book exports.
Yes.
By changing the name of the guild president to Supreme Overlord, and by going to coalition with whoever wins the coin toss, I can assure you that people's interest in guild politics and also in campus culture will grow. And also, the installation of Slimpy pods in Read and Science Library by this deadline, I can assure you will bring more students on campus, more people talking to each other rather than on Facebook, and we'll have more people on campus talking with each other, actually, having bonds with each other for once, because they're studying together in the library. Thank you.
Society's Council President, is pushing for a campus where students have the opportunity to engage in professional and personal development, to engage in cultural events, and to have really inclusive, innovative events to go to. And over the past 3 years, my club that I first got involved in, SOBA, has tripled the size of its events. EMAS, having a festival like that with 2,500 people 5 years ago, you would never have seen that. That would not have been possible. Clubs are more professional than ever, and the events that they're running are better than ever. And I think it's actually a really positive thing that we're moving away from that largely driven culture to a kind of culture where students want to go to those events. Students enjoy going to those events. Those events enrich the lives of students. To improve campus culture, we're going to continue supporting clubs. We're also going to bring in better spaces, so making Tavern a much better event space, bring in that world-class club facility, and continue to provide one-on-one support to clubs, because every club is different, and every club needs a different amount of support. We understand clubs. I, as the previous club president, my Society's Council President candidate, as the president who won Best Club last year, we are the best team to bring the results for clubs.
I think that we can all agree that while there is a general perception that campus culture is generally on the decline, we can still agree that campus culture at UWA is second to none compared to any other university in WA or Australia. But that doesn't mean that there's no more work to be done. So everyone knows that UWA's clubs and societies are the lifeblood of campus culture. As the Ecoms president, I know what it takes to run successful events. We ran a very, very successful ball this year. But what clubs need, what the guild needs to do with clubs, is to support them in what they want to do and trust that they will be able to run the events and engage students. That's why a launch guild that I lead will double club funding to give clubs the resources that they need to run the events that they want. But all the resources in the world are not going to be enough. Not going to be enough to pass events. What we need is to support clubs and to streamline the events running management process to make sure that clubs can pass their events and run their events to engage so many students in so many different areas.
Yeah.
That's what I will do for clubs in 2016, and that's what Launch will do for you. Thank you.
Students are currently facing a number of potential education threats. Cuts to majors, content shifting from undergraduate to postgraduate degrees, and the possible deregulation of university fees. What is your stance on these issues, and what can you practically do to protect student interests?
Well, let me just start off by saying that education is definitely something that I'm very passionate about and that Launch is very passionate about. As a faculty society president, I've spent the year standing up for students, and I want to do that next year as your guild president. I think Launch is in agreement when we say that the best place where the student guild can have an influence on your education is where our voice is loudest. That's with the university senate, with the academic boards, and in each and every faculty. If we want to enact change, we have to make sure that we are lobbying the right people for the right things. That's why our priority with education is to ensure that lecture recordings go on for longer. Tutorial sizes are kept small. Academic transcripts are cheap and printing is subsidised. These are realistic goals, and these are the types of things that actually affect students. actually affect whether they're going to get the marks that are good enough to get them into a job at the end of the day. And I think that is the major reason why a student guild exists, to provide the services for students to make the most of their education and make the most of their time at UWA. Thank you.
I don't like free deregulation. As a man from the regions with international roots, I feel the pain and anger within my circle. But we have to be smart in our lobbying, and we should not, I repeat, not fall into the trap of just opposing for the sake of opposing. When we oppose, we need to negotiate. When we negotiate, we conclude things together, and we'll get better outcomes, even though they may not be sexy, they may not be beautiful. But mates, this is the best we can do, and that's why we are doing it that
So I'm going to address a couple of these issues as I go throughout. So let's start with cuts to arts courses. You will notice that my Education Council President candidate Emma Bogart is not here. Right now, she is at the academic board meeting protesting those cuts. And I don't mean standing outside the left actually protesting. I mean she is in there. She ran that campaign against the cuts to arts majors. She also has been involved in some of the other things that have been happening with cuts throughout campus. She understands what's going on with that. She has been a very strong voice. She's currently doing that right now. So I think we are in safe hands with Emma Bogart as your 26th Standing Education Council President. In terms of content shifting from old courses to new courses, I'm currently actually one of the students that's caught up in that transfer. It's important that we continue to advocate for students that are part of old courses, but also make sure that students that are part of new courses do have the same level of quality of education. Thank you. Being one of those students that is caught up in it, I acutely understand how it affects students, and that is something that I will continue to work on with Emma. And let's finish up with fee deregulation. I was very happy to hear Kallen talk about that. A bit disappointed to hear that Rhys kind of glazed over it. So I'd like to hear his position on fee deregulation. I have always opposed fee deregulation in a variety of areas, right from attending protests to talking to people about it, signing petitions, thank you, to opposing it on the Senate. It is important that we continue to oppose fee deregulation. It is something that will drastically affect all students. We need to not just be in the room, we need to be a presence in the room, and that is what I will do.
Let's just address a couple of things. As an elected student representative, I don't think at the end of the day it makes a difference what my personal view on an issue is.
Wait, what?
What does matter is what I will do to make things happen. And I think that you get a lot more done lobbying the decision makers at UWA. When Maddi Mullholland went to Forest Chase and waved a cardboard sign, did it make your tutorial smaller? No. I'm about delivering tangible change and real change on campus, and that's what STAR has successfully failed to become, and that's what I will. Thank you.
If you interrupt, I'm pausing their time, so you're basically just giving them more time to speak, so please don't interrupt.
I only have one short little question to ask. When will Launch and Star work with the birthday party together?
I can only assume by that that Rhys's personal position is in support of food regulation, but we're going to skip over that. Thinking has this point here that we're talking about changes to course fees. Deregulating fees could triple our course fees. That means that you start your working career with a huge debt. Now that is not something that I feel comfortable supporting. Saddling students with that kind of debt affects them for the rest of their lives, really, in terms of starting out. Yes, STAR is about on-the-ground change. This year, we've already worked towards getting 100% exam graduated. We have already actually got 55-minute lecture recordings starting next year. Woo! We've got Unified in 5 key locations. We're continuing to work on that. So yes, in terms of on-the-ground change, STAR has delivered. But on this particular issue of fee regulation, it sounds like STAR is the only place that will deliver.
Maddi brought up all of the fantastic achievements that STAR has made educationally this year. I think I saw a lot of them on some of your materials, yeah. There was something about a number of finance units that STAR worked by themselves to eradicate an improper assessment structure. Well, actually, my education VP, Letitia Clark from Ecoms, emailed Tom Bayer and said that was the work of the faculty societies. We need an education council president and a guild president that respects faculty societies and their opinions.
Another quick point to make. Is it the Black Panthers who achieve what they achieved? Or is it that march in Selma, where Martin Luther King, in all his wisdom and his pacifism, achieved what he achieved? This is why we need to be considerate, and this is why we need to be relaxed, calm down, and approach the people involved in this united.
I forgot to say something before. Birthday party, we would love to work on the negotiations. I'm really glad that Rhys brought that up. I think it's really important that we acknowledge the work that Letitia Clark did at Ecoms this year. Fantastic. Thanks to her raising that issue with us. We also realised that there were surprise assessments happening campus-wide, and we've worked to eradicate those. That is a fantastic achievement that STAR has done this year. On education, STAR does this.
Alright, moving on to the final 3 specific questions before we get on to closing statements. So, first specific question to Warren. You'll have 2 minutes to answer this question. You've made a lot of promises in your campaign. $2 coffee, $10 drugs, and doubling club funding. Have you conducted any financial reviews on how to pay for these promises, or spoken with Guild Catering on whether to be profitable and sustainable for the Guild? And if so, will you make these studies available to students?
Alright, so there are a number of, issues regarding this. Number one is whether or not the promises that we make are feasible. Well, I'm going to say to you that every promise that we've made is feasible. Is feasible. Everything that we have promised to do can be done, but it's all a matter of priorities. I can't speak for Maddi Mullholland's priorities, but the priorities of a launch guild are going to be making sure that we can deliver on-the-ground services that really work for UWA students. Now, the other issue about whether or not we've conducted any logistics, it's a bit difficult to do this, and this ties back into what I was saying about transparency. It's difficult to do this when we don't have access to any of the financial records of the guild from this year. Not being a guild councillor, I am not allowed to view any of the financial records, and none of the minutes from any guild council have been published since April. That is not something that I can condone, and it makes it very, very difficult for me to run any sort of rigorous testing process when I can't have access to that. Thank you.
When we have applications for club rooms, a lot of clubs apply. I've seen when I was 2010 Independent City Council Chair that clubs really benefit from having a space. Now, we don't have enough space for all 130 clubs to have a club room on campus. It's unfortunate, but we do have those constraints. So, how do we deal with that? Well, we provide a world-class club facility that has all the facilities that a club room would offer. So it's got storage, it's got collaborative spaces, it's got professional meeting spaces with those professional level facilities, so TVs, all those sorts. Sorry, that's not very professional. Sorry, that's not very professional, but just picture that it really is, okay? That kind of facility is one of the best facilities that we will see in the world. That's the kind of stuff you look at Harvard. It's the kind of stuff you look at Stanford. We don't have any of those kind of facilities in Australia. And that means that there's a space for clubs to occupy. There's a space for them to keep their stuff, to meet, to collaborate. While having a club room is integral to some clubs, having a space is going to be such a huge difference to clubs. I'm really excited about the project. I'm really excited about the fact that clubs will now have a space. They won't have to just use study rooms. It's going to make a huge impact on campus culture, professionalism of clubs, and it's something that I'm really excited about, is that all clubs are now going to have a space.
Our final specific question goes to the birthday party. As of yet, the birthday party has not released any major policy platforms online, and has so far been regarded as an amusing diversion from the real election context. Why should students take your party seriously?
Second offensive question in a row. Mate, we have policies. I have a policy sheet right here for you to see. We're going to put it up online. You will see it. But we're not going to overload you on it, because in the end of the day, you have to negotiate. You have to negotiate. And you also need to negotiate. Mates, what's wrong with negotiating? Why must everything be set in stone? People, wake up!
We will now move to the closing statement part of this debate. So each candidate will get a minute and a half We'll be starting with Star. We're going to have a launch and a birthday party and then left action. Is everyone happy? You have the time?
Yeah, that's fine.
I now invite Star.
Would have liked to take more questions because I feel like I can harp on about all of the different guild things forever. But what I want to say to close is that STAR have a proven track record. We have a strong team and we've consulted widely in developing our policies. But the most important thing to know about STAR are our values. STAR is independent. I have not and I have never been affiliated to a political party. My team is made up of people from all backgrounds. STAR is progressive. We do not support fee deregulation, but we do support access to education for everyone, and we've been active in representing marginalised groups. I will always put students and their rights first. STAR is experienced. Each of my office bearers are the leaders in their field. STAR candidates from everywhere, from all faculties, from all types of clubs, colleges, different walks of life. And at the end of the day, anyone can stand up here and promise the sky without potentially knowing the financial difficulties of it. But if you look at our track record, our comprehensive and realistic policy, and our experienced and active team, it's clear that STAR is the only ticket with the knowledge, values and passion to deliver.
Guys, no need to clap me up. Over the course of this election, you've already heard a lot of promises, and no doubt you'll hear more. Look, launch is new, and launch is bold. We make big promises, and we're not ashamed to make them. Because the students of UWA deserve a guild that's willing to put in the hard yards to deliver real results for them. But importantly, we'll push beyond just big ticket promises. We support a comprehensive policy platform that leaves no stone unturned. Whatever your major, whatever your year, whatever you have chosen to carve out of a life at UWA, I promise to always put your interests first. And I'll do this because not just you, but my team will demand it. Launch is the ticket that has brought together students that have sat at your faculty societies and clubs in 2015. We know firsthand what you want and need when it comes to education, campus culture, and catering, as we have been the ones who've been involved with campus culture from day one. My team believes this just as strongly as you do, and it's for that reason that you can rest assured that we will deliver in 2016. UWA students deserve a guild that doesn't just say promises in September, but actually delivers. That's why I'm proud to run for president. And that's why I ask for your support. Thank you.
After 45 minutes, the situation is clear. You can choose to continue to vote for the same two cheeks on the same backside. Or you can vote for the party that has worked the ground, understood people's concerns, and people's concerns are very clear. They want a sleeping pod on campus next semester. People want free cake on their birthday. People want in export on the tagger. People want people to go to coalition at the coin toss because that is damn fun. I'm calling for a birthday revolution. Revolution now!
Okay, well, I never thought I'd follow up a speech that ended with revolution now. Having heard the closing statements, I'm pretty glad I wasn't here for the rest of the debate to see future politicians, practice their hand signals and all of that kind of thing. But I just came from a very successful protest against the cuts to arts majors. I think it's pretty disgraceful that all the people in this room who want to run the guild weren't actually present at that, instead wanted to listen to their own boring leaders speak basically to themselves. And I think as well it's interesting that all of these tickets are now saying that they want to fight for students, they want to stand up for students, which is what Left Action's been actually doing and saying for many years now. But I think when you look at STAR, their achievements actually just come down to, waiting for the university to change things of their own accord and then claiming it as a victory, but never doing anything to actually put any pressure on them. And of course the Liberals are going to be exactly the same and totally cynical as well, so don't clap if I just did that. The thing I wanted to add though, just at the end, is that I think there's something a little sort of unwritten, or rather unspoken about rule with the UWA Guild elections, that the two major tickets, Launch or Liberty, whatever you want to call it, and STAR, operate on the basis of a pretty obvious to most of us who aren't part of it, pyramid scheme. Where yes, and I did just say pyramid scheme. Where the minority of people at the top who actually get all of the positions, who are your presidential candidates who run for ed or whatever, who will crawl their way up into the Labor Party or the Liberal Party one day, get a bunch of people each year to run, compete against each other for the same 12 positions. They're running, like 80 of you for the same positions. None of you are going to win these. All you're doing is, most of you are.
Five seconds.
Yeah, no.
5 seconds, exactly.
All you're doing is funneling votes up to a bunch of dickheads who just want to put it on their resume.